Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I'd like to welcome you, dear viewers, to another in our series, In the Light of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace and blessings be on each and every one of you. Dear viewers, in this segment, we have a question regarding the husband and wife and how they treat each other, and the rights of wives and parents in marriage. And also, we have a question concerning women in Islam and their position, as they tend to be considered to be oppressed, or etc., by much of the world. Okay, our first question, and this question is coming in from Mr. Qureshi, writing in from Abu Dhabi. Dear Dr. Bilal, I truly appreciate your obliged way of answering our questions. So please answer a few questions of mine. The first question: if the husband disapproves his wife taking care of her father and mother, that is, the wife's parents, what should a good Muslim wife do? The husband doesn't want his wife to look after her parents. What should the wife do? Why? The person's asking this question. Why? Because we have the obligation to parents, and we have an obligation to the husband. And we know in Islam, yes, in terms of obligations to parents, the obligation to one's mother is, for example, the biggest obligation, then one's father. But when a woman is married, her obligation to her husband supersedes her obligation to her parents. So if the husband disapproves of some actions of hers, then technically speaking, she should cease from doing these actions. Now, in the case of her obligation to look after her parents, to take care of her parents, this is something which, if she has no other, there are no other brothers and sisters, etc., there to look after them, and it falls on her shoulders, then she has to do it. Now, if the husband disapproves, what should she do? Should she stop helping her parents? No. In this case, no. She has to. If she has an obligation, if there is no one else to look after her parents, then she has to do so. And really, it is an error on the part of the husband here to disapprove or to stop his wife from looking after her parents. But now, we have to, this could get a little complicated in the sense that if in looking after the parents, the wife then neglects her husband, see again, now we're coming into issues of rights and responsibilities here, because she has a primary right to fulfill her duties with regards to her husband. So she has to try to do it in such a way, help her parents in such a way that she doesn't neglect, her rights to her husband. And of course, the husband should help her in looking after her parents if she has no other, no one else to do so. Of course, the parents, if they have a son, it is that son's responsibility to look after them. First and foremost, it shouldn't fall on the wife. And this is why we know, in accordance with Islamic law, when inheritance is divided, etc., the males get twice the share of the females because of the responsibilities that the male has in terms of looking after parents, brothers and sisters, children, etc. They have the greater responsibility. So in such a case, the woman should not give up her responsibility to look after her parents, because this is something, if no one else will do it, she has to do it. The husband should not disapprove, should not make it difficult, but she should not sacrifice, her duties to her husband, for the sake of looking after her parents. She should try to work out both, and of course, if she seeks, Allah's help and the help of her other family members or the community, inshallah, if she's sincere, asking Allah's help, that Allah will make a way for her. As Allah says, fear Allah, and Allah will find a way for you even from directions which you least expected it. The second question, which our writer, Mr. Qureshi, writes in, he says, is there a hadith in Sahih Bukhari to the effect that the wife does not need her husband's permission to take care of her parents? Well, I am not aware of such a hadith, but we know that the responsibilities which fall on children with regards to their parents, there's so many verses in the Quran which instruct us to look after our parents, that this stands. You know, when a person gets married, it doesn't mean that their obligation to their parents now, ends. So it remains, but it cannot become primary over obligations to the immediate family. That is, even a husband, for example. He has parents, and he has a wife. Can he neglect the rights of his wife for the sake of looking after his parents? No. He has a responsibility to look after his wife and his children. This is first and foremost. Parents are there, and he has to look after them also. So he has to try to work it in such a way that he does not neglect a primary responsibility for a secondary responsibility. We have another question here, which Mr. Kadir Jamal writes from Ajman. Dear Sir, to the attention Dr. Bilal, dear Sir, I would be grateful if you would give attention to this letter. In today's time, most people argue that by making women financially independent, it would solve the problem of abuse of women and empower them. What do you think of this? The issue of making women financially independent. Well, Islam gives women certain financial independence, in that they have the right to own property, to inherit, to run their own businesses, etc. I mean, this already exists in Islamic law. So it is not about, making women financially independent. If they're not financially independent, meaning that they don't have the opportunity. It's not to say that each and every woman should be, made financially independent, meaning in the sense that she is now responsible for herself, because this is what independence means, And in Western society, where a man and woman both are held responsible in terms of finances to earn, and they come together and they share their finances, whatever. One may be taking a job, that the other one takes another job, maybe working outside the home, the other one remains in the home. But it's kind of like, oftentimes, they have to work, both of them have to work to provide for a given family. This is very common in the West, and the financial independence of women is well known. So what tends to happen is, of course, where problems arise in the family, instead of trying to work it out, a woman may say, okay, enough, I'll get out of here and look after myself. I can take care of myself, And that may encourage women, to leave marital situations. Of course, we're not saying we want to tie women into situations that are, not acceptable, where they're being abused, etc., etc. But, they shouldn't be encouraged into a situation where they can easily leave the home. The home, the system of the society should be there to strengthen the home. Now, as I said, Islam does provide financial independence for women. So it's not about giving them that which they didn't have. And the question is, that the writer Kadir asked about, whether this would solve the problem of abuse of women. In the West, Western society, where women are financially independent to a large degree, abuse still continues. The amount of rapes which take place in those societies is massive. In America, it had crossed the 100,000 mark. We're talking about, massive numbers of women daily are being raped across the country. So, and that's on extreme level. Then you have other levels where in workplaces and the kind of abuse that the women suffer, whether they're in the military, whether they're lawyers, doctors, whatever fields they're in, they're being molested, etc., by males. So financial independence is not the solution for abuse of females. No. The structure of the society has itself to be organized in such a way that women are protected. They are the ones that will be harmed when there are no barriers, no guidelines there to protect them. What Islam does is it makes a separation of the sexes, that males and females are educated separately, and they function within the outer society in separate fields to a large